Today, for the Chris and Todd project, we're going to embellish our library/den a little bit by adding crown molding to the ceiling. We have tall ceilings, 9-10 foot ceilings, and we're just going to bring the ceiling down a little bit more. And I think it'll bring down the light and show the light more too. It'll bring more focus to the ceiling. So we're off to Home Depot to get the crown molding. Stay tuned for more.
Making our choice on what we want for the ceiling.
There's a shorter piece here. And they're the same width, so I think this one. Simpler.
Yeah, simpler. We've made our selection. Okay, we've got actually multiple projects going on at this time. So we've got the wood for our crown molding project and more wood to finish our trailer project that we have going on at the same time. So we've got it all handled. Now we just got to check out and get on to working. Got our crown molding all painted, and now we're getting ready to install it. And to measure the walls, we do a measurement from there to here to find this, just to give us a center point so we don't end up getting to the wall and bending the tape and trying to figure out what it is going that way. This way we get a precise mark. So we went 60 inches from here to here, and then we did the measurement from here to here, which was 57 3/16, and that gives us, you add those two together, we get the total dimension for the wall, and that way we're not guessing by bending the tape at the end to fit it in the corner, which doesn't work. So we've got that all figured out for 2 walls so far, and now we're going to find the studs to nail the crown into first. Then we'll start doing some cutting and putting it all together. Okay, so getting ready to make some cuts of the crown molding. I've already done one board already, but I can show you kind of how I set it up. So I make some marks on my saw right blade, or on the chop saw here, so I know exactly where to put the molding. And then I've got it where it says top right here to know you always want to have the top of the molding down. This would be what is the ceiling part right here. So I put that to make sure I always remember to have the top down like this. And then over here I've already got my line set up where you press this up against the back fence here and get your line, so you've got it nice and square there. And so you know that line right there, so I know every cut will be right on that line. So I measure that up like that, keep that like that. I do it on both sides because you've got to cut a 45 this way and then a 45 that way for your cuts. So that's basically how I set up the saw. You know, again, just make sure you follow that line, and when you're making your cuts, everything will stay the same and you'll be good to go there. So we're about to cut another board now. So it's a 10 footer, so I've got to bring it out and get that one ready to go. So we'll set that up now. Okay, back at the crown molding project we're working on here. I've got most of the room completed, well, almost. This corner right up here is a bit of a problem corner because it's not a full 90, so I had to use a little angle finder tool here to get the right angle to make the cuts so this guy would fit up in here like that. So that takes, this was a 50-degree angle, so you need to do 4 cuts. So you divide 50 by 4, get you the right angles, and then you can get this little guy to fit in right up in there, which looks like it's going to fit perfect. Whoops, actually grabbed the wrong piece. This is the right piece. So full disclosure, cut about 5 of these before I got it exactly right. And really full disclosure that took the first 2 boards down because I didn't like the angles that were cut. Because I was just guessing, I wasn't using a crown stop on my saw, which I now have that, and it makes it a much easier situation. So that's redone up there and looks much better now. So everything's coming together, and we should finish in the next, I don't know how long it's going to take, because I've got another weird angle over there that I've got to figure out yet and get that cut in, and then it's on to doing the caulking, punch it in the nails, and we're touch up and we're done. Okay, as you can see, it's a beautiful day out here today to be cutting outside. So I got my tent set up, and so we're in some dryness in here, which is good. So as I talked about earlier, here's the crown stops right there, which I tried to do it with the tape and a line before, and it just didn't work with the tape and the line. I couldn't hold it straight. That's why I had to pull those off and start again to get it better, because they just weren't good enough for me. But ordered these on Amazon, and they work perfect. So everything so far has been going really good, but now we're going to do that 40-degree angle from Wisson's, or 39-degree angle that we had inside, and cut a couple tests and see how they work. Okay, so we've got it all, do a spin around the room, all installed up on there, all the way around the room, all finished. All the nail holes are all filled in with wood filler and the cracks. So now we just need to caulk along the base and the top, and then paint, touch up everywhere else, and this one's all done. So the hard part's over with. Now just do a little caulking, a little painting, and this room's done. So we're quitting for today. That's it for today. Okay, working on the finishing touches right now, doing touching up the little spots where the nail filled in all the nail holes. Have to go get some caulking that's off-white to caulk around the base and around the ceiling. So we got that yet to do, but doing all the touch-up right now on all the little wood fill-in. You can see all the nail holes right there filled in, all those. So we're just touching those up with a little bit of paint just over the top of those, fill those in, and away they go. And super easy to do. And you can also touch up any of the paint that's like right there. Got a little scratched when I was making some cuts, so you can feather in all of that as well at the same time. Small little brush is handy. Don't need a big brush for this, so makes it super simple. So we're going to finish this up now and then move on to the caulking after another trip to Home Depot to buy the caulking. But key things here, always have a drop cloth on the ground. It may be, I'm a kind of guy that likes to do without, but I know especially in this carpet area, it's not coming out of the carpet very easily, the paint. So a good drop cloth to have is needed. So I got to get back to this, finish this up, and then head to get some caulking. All right. Okay, finishing touches going up now. Doing, as you can see, the caulking around the top edge there where I've stopped, and along the bottom edge here. You can see the difference that it makes. It finishes it off just nice. Really, really nice. Gets it especially on the bottom. Really finishes it off. So just have basically the rest to go. I haven't done just this little corner so far, so I'm gonna finish that up. There's a number of techniques you can do when you do this. It's always good to have paper towels too. I use a lot of paper towels when I'm doing this, and I'm sure there's a lot better ways to do this and a lot quicker ways. I'm not very good at it, so I go kind of slow and take my time, but I cut the opening to the tube pretty small right there, and then I just run a bead along the bottom here. A little goes a long ways, so you don't need much. Then I just take my finger, which I use this little sponge here, we got sponge, and I just run it along there. And then I just make sure that I filled in, oops, all the holes. Make sure there's no gaps, and that looks good. Like that. And then I just take the sponge, which is damp, and just run it along there. And that cleans it off, smooths it out, and takes any excess off the molding. Which, if you see some right there, then you have your paper towel and you can just wipe away whatever's left. Dry that off, and then that gives you a nice smooth caulking line right there. And then you just do the same thing across the top. There's another tool, this tool you could use, which has got this nice little end here, and you can run it along there. I've used this on some other projects, really nice. But for this, the sponge seems to work better than this, I think. This takes a lot off. The sponge just does a nice job of smoothing it all in. And that's how you do it. Then we just have one little section here, and then we're all done. So that's good. All right, get back to it. So here's a little breakdown of all the tools used for this job. Obviously the miter saw, and especially want to get these little saw stops and make yourself a little template here that shows you the width of how wide your crown molding will be from the top edge to the bottom, and then you lock this in place. I've got it a little loose right now, but these crown stops a must-have on both sides. Your miter saw. Finished nail gun there, and use my other nail gun there as well. Stud finder, tape measure, hammer, and a punch to punch in the nails at the end there. A little sponge for when you're doing your caulking, caulk gun, angle finder, working on the bull nose when it's not a perfect 90 degree. This is also good when you're doing a bull nose when it is 90 and out instead of an in. You can find your measure points with this little tool right here, which is a great thing to have. Bull nose trim gauge. Some filler. I use this plastic wood filler. You can use whatever you want to fill it in. And then I've got my little portable table that pops up that I put my saw on to work with. And that's about it for the tools we used. The project's complete, so we'll get a little reveal of that and a cost, what our total cost budget-wise that we got money in on this. Wasn't very much. So we'll finish this up and take a reveal of how it all looks inside. Okay, just a few quick tips we learned along the way here doing this project. By no means am I a pro or a finished carpenter or anything like that. We're just do-it-yourselfers. Chris comes up with the ideas, great design and all that, and then we just try and make it happen. We're definitely DIYers. And a few things we learned, have extra pieces so you can cut your 45s to go on both angles so you can test it when you put your first board up. And when you're nailing that first board up, leave about 10 inches or so from the corners, so you've got a little bit of adjustment room there when you're placing your next board together, so you'll have those go together nice and you have a little bit of fudge room before you nail in tight to the corners. That's really helpful. And then knowing whether, looking in there, when it's a inside corner, this is the bottom, this would be the ceiling. You want this piece, this angle to be longer for inside corner, and when you're doing an outside 90, the top part would be longer. So inside corner, this is longer, outside corner 90, the top part is longer. So that's just it makes itself a note that just inside the bottom's long, outside corner top is long. So just a quick note on that, but definitely we make a couple samples to go on each end. So we put a board up, then put the 2 samples on the side to make sure that the cuts are right and everything's fitting nice and tight. It's definitely a 2-person job. You need 2 people, 2 ladders hold it up there, unless it's a really small room, but you know, these were 10-foot almost sections. So definitely needed 2 people. 2 ladders was great too to have. But I think it all turned out really good. The crown stops on the miter saw were a must-have. I tried to do it with the tape line, didn't work, and had to pull the 2 boards off. So definitely those crown stops were a big help. And overall, the whole project cost us, stand by on that. Okay, so where was I? The amount we were in. Total amount into the job to do this little project was $179 thereabouts, $118 for the wood. A little angle finder's like $6 and something, and the paint was $35. So all in all, we're in at about 180 bucks, and you know, our time to do it, which we don't really ever count because it's just, we're doing it and it's just part of a project. We do projects around here. So overall, not a bad $180 investment for what it turned out like, which turned out great. And so now let's take a look.